Good morning, whatever Rabotai. We are continuing on Masechet Avodah Zarah, and we are on Daf Dalid, Amud Aleph, top of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned for Zchut Yehoshua ben Dina Diana and Yael bat Rivka and Menashe ben Asi. Today's Amud is also being learned Leilui Nishmat Zipporah bat Yitzchak. We are amidst a very interesting Agata discussing the Tzadikim and Reshaim. The Pasuk said the comparison of people with Dagim, with fish, which really is a Pasuk talking about Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuah, the Navi, is foreseeing the conquest of Nebuchadnezzar of an entire region that he was there. Basically was Malach Bechol Ha'olam. Nebuchadnezzar was a mighty king, and this is prior to that. Nebuchadnezzar used to be first a scribe to King Baladan, and then later on he became the great emperor of Babylonia that he became. And this pasuk is basically saying that Hashem is going to give all the people under the command of Nebuchadnezzar like fish to people, like fish that they're completely in control. You take them, they have no protexia, they have no protection from people. This is the same thing. That's the based on Mesudat David, what the pasuk is talking about, and the Gemara picks on this is what's the comparison between human beings and fish? And the Gemara goes through three different attempts, two of which we saw yesterday. We're up to the third one. The Gemara said, just like fish out of water cannot live, us out of the human beings, without the Torah we don't have life. The Torah is like the lifeline of humanity. So that's the first one. The second pshat was that just like fish cannot tolerate too much of the sun, too much of the heat, same is with people. Now, whether it is the Gemara, multiple places in Shas, including the Gemara Tuvot of Lamed, that says Hakol bidei shamayim chus misinim pahim, that everything is bidei shamayim, but certain things you just have to simply be careful with. You can't put yourself in danger, and one of them is sinim pahim. If you go through extreme cold, extreme heat, and you're not controlling it, you're not careful, so to speak, that is something that's on you. And the Gemara there says the comparison of Sadiqim and Reshaim, and the Gemara said that the protection from heat could be in Olam Hazeh, could be in Olam Haba. In Olam Hazeh is what we mentioned right now, and in Olam Haba is the pasuk that says the Rishonim, the Reshaim rather, are going to be judged with the shemesh, with the sun that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take out of its nartik. We mentioned that this is not necessarily talking about when a person dies, that there is Gehenam, and there's going to be a reward and punishment, so to speak. But after Tchiyat HaMetim, Resh Lakish says, en Gehenam, there's no Gehenam, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings out the sun, and that sun, basically, shish kebabs, the Reshaim and the Tzadikim are going to actually be nitrapeimba. Chachamim, parenthetically, in parentheses, Chachamim disagree with this view of Resh Lakish. What I hear is just bringing Resh Lakish because out of our sugya, the Gemara wants to explain that the shemesh that could be good for tzaddikim could simultaneously be negative and damaging to Reshaim. But otherwise, Chachamim disagree with this view of Resh Lakish. So that's the...
Or do they disagree about?
That there's en gehinam ba'olam haba. So says the Gemara, the tzaddikim mitrapeim ba, the tzaddikim are going to have refuah, ve'zarcha lachem yireh shebi shemesh tzedakah u'marpeh, And not only that, says the Gemara, Ela Shemit Adenim Ba'id, actually elevates them and enhances them, Shlemar V'yatzatem Upishtem Ke'egle Marbek, that the tzaddikim are going to be enhanced. Davar Acher, the third and final attempt of a perush on this comparison between people and fish, says the Gemara, Ma dagim shebayam kol hagadol mechavero bolea et havero. Just like by fish, what's the rule? The bigger fish eat the smaller fish. That's how that's how the sea works. Just like by fish, the bigger ones swallow the smaller ones. In people also is the same way. If it wasn't because of the government, if it wasn't because of the police, people would swallow each other up. It would be like a jungle. Madagim shebayam kol hagadol mechavero bolea et havero, af bnei adam. People, so to people, ilmale mora'ah shel malchut. If it wasn't because of the reverence and the fear of the malchut, kol hagadol mechavero bolea et chavero. Every person that could, the stronger would win and would destroy the weaker ones and the least significant. So says the Gemara, and that's what the Mishnah says, Heve mitpalel bishloma shel malchut. That a person should always daven for the government. Because if it wasn't because of the fear and the reverence of the king, the malchut, the government, people will literally swallow each other up. Talk about defunding the police. Actually, very, very interesting. Somebody found a sidur for the Berlin of the late, I think, 1930s, and they had a tefillah on Shabbat morning, a Misha Barach for the government of Adolf Hitler. That's when he just had been basically risen to power, and people didn't necessarily know the extent of his negativity, and the Jews were davening for his hatzlacha. Now that speaks volumes about the Jewish communities and their loyalty to the malchut and their loyalty to the government. But at the same time, it's an unfortunate things that happen, but nevertheless, even a government that's not necessarily fully positive, the fact of having government is something important. We see this in many aspects in Shas, in 4 places. The Gemara recognizes in Choshev Mishpat even the law of the land, as the Rashba writes, as long as it does not interfere with the law of the Torah, Dina de Malchuta Dina Amar Shmuel, and so on and so forth. But it's not just that. It is a recognition that without law and order, people would not be living in safety. Therefore, you have to always support the law and the order and daven for the well-being of the government. Now, who is saying this? Rabbi Charina Segar HaKohanim. Rabbi Charina Segar HaKohanim is actually very interesting. If you take a look at Chacham Obadiah's Sefer on Pirkei Avot and Afetz Avot, he brings a very interesting pshat. He says, Rabbi Charina Segar HaKohanim means he was the second to the Kohen Gadol, that if the Kohen Gadol would die or become Tameh, he would step up and become the Kohen Gadol, and he never became the Kohen Gadol. He always was Segar HaKohanim. So says Chacham Obadiah, how does this work? Because he was fit for being Kohen Gadol, but he never became the Kohen Gadol. And this is in Bait Sheni, as the Gemara says in Yuma Daftet, Bait Sheni, we went through 300 Kohen Gadols. And take out from it Rabbi Yochanan Kohen Gadol, which was 80 years, and so on. Every year there was a new Kohen Gadol, says the Gemara. Right? How did it work? Unfortunately, the system was rigged, and people would bribe their way with the Roman government to become the Kohen Gadol. The Gemara speaks about a woman that paid a lump sum to the government for their husbands to become Kohanim Gedolim, and so on and so forth. So, you would think that Rabbi Charina Segar HaKohanim had all the reasons to get rid of the government. because he was not becoming lawfully and rightfully the Kohen Gadol because the system was messed up. And yet, says Chavadia, he would daven for the Shalomah Shel Malchut. Even though that the Roman government was not to his advantage in this way, still he was davening for Shalomah Shel Malchut, mitpalel b'Shalomah Shel Malchut, she'ilmaleh mora'ah Shel Malchut ish re'u chaim balau. So says the Gemara, first wide line, Rav Chinan bar Papa Rami, he asked a question, a stira from psukim to each other. On one hand it says, Shaddai lo metzanuhu sagi koach. On the other hand, the different pasuk says, Gadol Adonenu v'rav koach. So on one hand it says, Hashem, we don't find him exercise koach, exercise power. And the other pasuk says, Gadol Adonenu v'rav koach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is great and he is mighty. So says the Gemara, Uchtiv Yemincha Hashem nedari b'koach. Another supporting pasuk for the power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara says, Lokash. It's not a stira, it's not a contradiction. Kan b'shat adin, kan b'shat milchama. One is in the time of judgment. In time of judgment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not exercise power. He exercises, as we had before, more compassion. But the Shat Milchama, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu fights, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing Milchama, then he is exercising Rav Koach, tremendous power. Says the Gemara, Rav Chama bar Chanina Rami Ktiv. Rav Chama bar Chanina asked a contradiction in the Psukim. On one hand it says, Chema Enli, Hashem says, I have no wrath, I have no anger. Uchtiv, on the other hand it says, Nokem Hashem u'Baal Chema, Hashem takes revenge and he is a Baal Chema. He is a master of wrath and anger. So, which one is it? Is it Chema Enli, that I have no anger? Or is Hashem indeed a Baal Chema, the one that always gets angry? So the Gemara says, Lokash, it's not a stira. Now, by the way, what we always have said, and we always will say, explains this very nicely. We have mentioned many, many times, and it's important to be mentioned every time, that when we speak about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever we say, it's not the definition of Hashem. It's a definition of how He chooses to deal with us. So when we say, Chema Enli, Baal Chema, none of them are explaining and defining Chas v'Shalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence. Chalila v'chas. We have no idea what the essence of Hashem is. En machshavat tfisa bach klal, in the language of Zohar HaKadosh, we have no idea what HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nobody has any idea. No malach, no saraf. Nobody has an idea what HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence is. Is far removed from any understanding of any creature, even the ones much higher than human beings. They don't understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As we had this in the beginning of Hagigah, that even the tefillot, Ayem Makom Kevodo La'arit, so even the Malachim, they put a sheb on the tefillah and goes up to the Makom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nobody actually knows the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we speak about these midot, even though we're asking contradiction in the way Hashem has presented to us, the way He has chosen to deal with us. That's all it is. So says the Gemara, Lo kasha, kam Israel, kam b'ovdei kochavim. When he says, Chema Enli, Hashem is talking about the Jews. He says, I don't get angry with the Jews. When he says Hashem is Baal Chema, he's talking about Ovdei Kochavim, the idol worshippers. So says the Gemara, Rav Chinan bar Papa Amar, he answered differently. Chema Enli, shekevar nishbati, mi teneni shelo nishbati. Shamir v'shayit. Says, I don't have chema because I already swore not to exercise chema. But if I hadn't sworn that I'm not going to exercise my anger, then they would have seen the effects of my power, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the end of the same pasuk. So says the Gemara, V'hainu damar Rav Alexandri, Mai dichtiv ve'aya bayom hahu avakesh la'ashmid et kol hagoyim. What is it that the pasuk says? On that day I would want to destroy all of the nations, all of the goyim. Says the Gemara, avakesh mimi. What do you mean avakesh? Avakesh means I will request. That's the literal translation. Bakasha means a request. Avakesh lashmin means I request to do it. Who are you asking? Says the Gemara, avakesh mimi. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, avakesh benigni shelahem, im yesh lahem zechut evdem, ve'im lav ashmidem. I will see their maasim, if they have zchuyot. Hashem says, I will protect them, and they will not be destroyed. And I'll redeem them. But if they don't have zchuyot, then ashmidem, then I would annihilate them. I would destroy them. And this is what Rava says. My dichtiv ach lo yeshalach yad im bepido lahen shua. Amar lahen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is a let's actually read the Gemara and we'll go back to the pasuk. Amar lahen HaKadosh Baruch Hu leYisrael keshani dan et Yisrael en ani dan otam keovdei kochavim. When I judge the Jews, I don't judge them like the idol-worshipping nations. Why? Dichtiv, as the pasuk says, and I'm going to read the pasuk completely on the bottom over here. Pasuk in Yechezkel perek Chav Aleph. Ava asimena gam zot lo haya ad bo asher lo hamishpad untativ. Now the Gemara darshins this in comparison of the Jews with the Ovdei Kochavim and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with their judgment separately. Says the Gemara, on one hand it says the previous pasuk ach lo yeshalach yad im bepido. Bepido, the Gemara is explaining like a pit shel tarnegolet. When the tarnegolet pecks on something, when a rooster, a hen, eats, how do they eat? They don't have a spoonful or a sandwich that they bite on. They peck little small pieces at a time. If you put a large piece of food in front of them, they peck at it little by little bites until they finish it. That's how the tarnegolet eats. Versus when you pour something out, you empty something all at once, which would be completely different. So says the Gemara, that's the comparison of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with the Jews versus the Ovdei Kochavim. By the Jews, when Hashem wants to punish them, is like kepit shel tarnegolet. It's a consistent pecking, small pieces at a time. But by the Goyim, Hashem waits, and then when it becomes full, the whole thing comes crashing down, destroying. Says the Gemara, En ani dan otam keovdei kochavim, dichtiv, ava simena vegomer, ela ani nifra mahen kepit shel tarnegolet. I do it like small pecks at a time. Davar acher, says the Gemara, another perush, afilu en Yisrael osin mitzvah lefanai ki im me'at, that even if the Jews do a little bit of a mitzvah, kepit shel tarnegolet, like a small incremental things, little mitzvah here, little mitzvah there, shemenakerin b'ashba, like the tarnegolet that goes in small, bites he takes from the food, or pokes inside the garbage to find food. Ani metzarfan lecheshbon gadol. I gather every mitzvah and add them up. You remember at the end of Masechet Chagigah, we had the Poshei Yisrael, and the Gemara said, even Poshei Yisrael that are melein mitzvot karimon. What's the expression of melein mitzvot karimon? Why not like a watermelon? Because rimon is small pieces that add up to one fruit. It's a little grain there, a little grain there, a little grain there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gathers, even by Posh'ei Yisrael, who are otherwise not so careful, but each one of them has a mitzvah, a little mitzvah there, a little mitzvah there. He gave it tzedakah here, he had a good thought there, he felt bad when he missed Amud Yomi one day, and that's a little mitzvah over there. When he did a little averah, he had a little remorse, a little regret. All of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gathers, and it becomes Mele'im mitzvot karimon. So this is very much aligned with that. Hashem says, even if they have a small mitzvah, like a peck of a tarnegolet over here, a peck there, a peck here, a peck there, I gather all of them. Mitzarfam lecheshbon gadol. I add all of them up, it becomes something big. Says the Gemara, Shenemarim bepido, lahen shua. Davar acher, a third pshat, bischar shemeshavei lefanai. The shua, the Gemara darshins milashon leshavea, to scream out to Hashem, to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bischar shemeshavei lefanai, in the reward of the fact that they daven to me, they scream, they call out to me, ani moshia otam, I will be there for them and I will save them. V'hainu damar Rav Abba, and this is what Rav Abba said, my dichtiv. What's the meaning of the pasuk that says Va'arochi eftem vehema dibru alai ksavim? Hashem says, I am redeeming them and they speak negatively about me. Oy lahem ki nadadu mimeni. Hashem says, woe to the Jews that they moved away from me. Shod lahem ki pashubi. They have rebelled against me. Va'arochi eftem vehema dibru alai ksavim. I am busy trying to redeem them, trying to do good for them, and they speak negatively. Ksavim, words that are not true. Says Rabbi Abba, what's the pshat with this pasuk? What do you mean I am trying to save them and they speak lies about me? What did the Jews do that HaKadosh Baruch Hu complains about them in this way? Explains Rabbi Abba, Ani amarti eftem b'mamonam. I decided that I'm going to give them a little yisurim here, a little yisurim there. You get a flat tire here, you get a little ticket there, right? Eftem b'mamonam. They lose a little money here, a little money there, and that is considered a kaparat avonot, right? Ba'olam hazeh, in olam hazeh, and clean them off completely and let them be cleansed. Like the Gemara says in Masechet Baba Batra, Daf Yud, the Gemara says just like the parnasah of the person gets set every year for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. There's also a Gemara in Daf Tetzayin, Masechet Betzalel, first line. The Gemara says, in Baba Batra adds, that kach chesrotav shel adam k'tzvoto Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim. Even what you're going to lose as kapara is going to be also said. The Gemara there gives an example of the nephews of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan had this dream that they're going to lose 700 coins, and he started taxing them for tzedakah. So, this guy is a ani, help a little bit tzedakah. You have a fundraiser over here for the kollel. There's this yatom, there's almana. Throughout the year, he collected from them almost the whole 700. There's the 17 coins short, and when they were called Erev Rosh Hashanah to go to the government, they were very nervous. What's going to happen with them? He said, "No, don't worry about it. They're going to just charge you $17, and there you go." And when this actually happened, they were shocked. They said, "Well, you're a Navi." He said, "No, I had this dream last year." And they said, "Oh well, why didn't you tell us?" He said, "I wanted you to do it lishma." But sometimes you have this kaparat avorot, like you lose a little bit here, a little bit there, and it's difficult. And the person is frustrated at the time they're going through it. So why me? Right? Hema dibru alai kezavim. Hashem says they not only didn't understand and appreciate it, they started dibru alai kezavim, saying negative things about me. Here I am. I'm trying to save them from eternal difficulty because of their averot. If I wait until Olam Haba, there's no end to Olam Haba's difficulties. So I'm trying to cash in over here, right? Like Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, Rabbi Chasman, they used to say, Olam Hazeh is a very expensive hotel. Like, you go to the hotel rooms and they have this little fridge with a little bottle of water is $15. A little alcohol is $100. It's a very expensive hotel. Anything you take from Olam Hazeh, the hashbon is tremendous. But it's both ways. You do a little Yisurim in Olam Hazeh, and it knocks off, eternity of difficulty in Olam Haba. So Hashem says, the ones who I love, Et asher yoav Hashem yochiach uchavet ben yirseh, the ones that I love, I want to cleanse them in Olam Hazeh. So I do a little bit. I don't do it all at once. It's like a peck of a tarnagolet, a little yisurim there, a little difficulty there, a little disappointment there, a little bizayon here, a little embarrassing moment there. And I'm cashing out all these negativity to cleanse them for Olam Haba. But they, instead of appreciating it, they speak negatively about me. Why Hashem is doing this to me? Why me? Right? Says the Gemara, I want them to be zochet to Olam Haba, to the eternal good. So says the Gemara, and they speak negatively, ksavim, lies about me. My dichtiv, what is it that the pasuk says? Ve'ani yisarti chizakti zerotam ve'alai yechashvura. The pasuk says very similar to the one that we just had now. The pasuk says, this is in Hosea Perek Zayin, Ani yisarti chizakti zerotam. I brought, yisarti means yisurim. I brought difficulty on them. Chizakti zerotam, in order to strengthen their arms for Olam Haba. But what happened? And about me they think negatively. So Hashem says, I am doing good for them. Now, the good could be a little painful, but what do they think? They think that I'm doing negative to them. They don't realize the good that is intended. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani amarti, ayasarem b'yisurim ba'olam hazeh. I planned to bring a little difficulty, a little yisurim to them in Olam Hazeh, kadesh shechazku zerotam le'olam haba, in order for their arms to be strong in Olam Haba, ve'elai yachshavura, and they think negatively about me. Now, we spoke about Rabbi Abahu here, and Gemara now is going to speak a beautiful story about Rabbi Abahu. Rabbi Abahu was one of the most amazing, tremendous personalities of the the Roman exile, the time of Amoraim. The Gemara says about him tremendous things that you don't find about others. He was extremely handsome. The Gemara says in Masechet Baba Metziat Afpedarat Amud Alef, the Gemara there, the entire Gemara is talking about Rabbi Yochanan, and one of the things the Gemara talks about Rabbi Yochanan is how beautiful, how handsome he was. And then the Gemara says, well, there are few people who were tremendously beautiful. Rav Kahana, there are the 4 handsome people in the history of the world, right? So it was Rav Kahana who was me'ain of Rabbi Abahu. Rabbi Abahu was me'ain of Yaakov Avinu, and Yaakov Avinu was me'ain of Adam HaRishon. So in order was Adam HaRishon, Yaakov Avinu, Rabbi Abahu, and Rav Kahana. Those are the 4 things. So basically, how about Rabbi Yochanan? You just told me Rabbi Yochanan was very handsome. So yeah, he was, but he didn't have a beard. He couldn't grow a beard, so his beauty was, diminished and wasn't the full beauty. So he was very handsome. And then, well, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Yosef is not counted in the 4, right? Yaakov Avinu was more handsome than his son. If you want to know that. But the Gemara says about Rabbi Abahu's political power. We had this actually just recently in Masechet Chagigah, Taf Yudalet. We had the Gemara there said that people who are Nesu Panim, the Gemara Darshan Nesu Panim, depending on whether it's in the heavens or on earth, it will be either Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa or Rabbi Abahu. So the people who Hashem or other people are Noseh Panim Le'amo. They do things, they bend the rules for the Jews, who will be, if you're talking about Hashem bending the rules, up in the heaven bending the rules, that would be Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, which we studied his stories and his powers in Masechet Tanit together, how his tefillah and his chuyot, the whole world is nizorin bishvil Hanina beni, and so on and so forth. And the equivalent of that on earth would be Rabbi Abahu, said the Gemara. We just had this together recently, right? that the Caesar, the Roman Empire, would change and bend the rules for the Jews because of this one person that was Karov leMalchut. He was very much close to the Caesar, very much close to the Roman government, and he would change the Gezerot whenever there was something difficult. Because of him, they would say, okay, Hazaku Baruch, let it go. And that's the power that he had. The Gemara says in Masechet Ketuvot, Daf Yud Zayin, Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Dalet, that he was very beloved to the Caesar. It says whenever he would come from Bet Midrash to go to his government job, to go see the Caesar, all of the women of Bet Caesar would come out singing to him. Right? They had a song for him. They would say, Rabba de Ameh, Metabrara de Umate, he's the master of his nation, he's the spokesman of the Jews, and they would welcome him to the palace and so on. So he was a tremendous person, Rabbi Abahu. Right? So now that gives a little backdrop to the story the Gemara is going to bring right now. Says the Gemara, hold your questions for later. Mishtabeach lehu Rabbi Abahu lemini. Now, part of his power was that he was very close to the Afikorsim, to the heretics also. He was the spokesman of the Jews, so he had to deal with Jews for Jesus and all the other powers of the government, not just the actual government. You all know that Rashi, we have spoken about this a lot, Rashi says, Min is the Rashi Tevot, Mitalmidav Shel Yeshua Notzri. Right? That's one of the, even though that we translate Min as a heretic, as an Afikores, but it used to be a reference to Talmidei Yeshua Notzri, the early Notzrim. So they actually would be, this is nothing new, the debates of the Psukim and how to learn the Psukim and so on is nothing new. It started from the time already of the Amoraim. So he was in very close contact with them, and he had a very good relationship with them because they were in power. They controlled the taxes, they controlled a lot of the important things in the government. So says the Gemara, he was speaking to the Minim, and he wanted to lobby on behalf of one of the tzaddikim of our generation, not our nation in the time of Rabbi Abahu, and that's Rav Safra. Rav Safra was a Chassid. We have many stories in Shas about the Chassidut of Rav Safra, and he spoke to them and said, this person is a tremendous Talmid Chacham, tremendous. I said, he's a tremendous Talmid Chacham. They had never seen him. They said, you know what? We write him off for taxes for 13 years. No taxes. Because you said, you see, power of Rabbi Abahu. Then they had a very disappointing encounter with Rab Safra, which we go into Bezrat Hashem, continue and learn in the days to come.